Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Sensory Fitness Live, brought to you by Sensory Fitness and Lackey Kid. So glad to have you all here today. Today's show is going to look a little bit different. It's going to be less me talking so much, and we're going to have a guest. Her name is Casey Grant. She's an occupational therapist from Grant Therapies, and we'll get to that in just a second. But today's show will be our special guest giving us we'll talk about our topic here in just a second. So Sensory Fitness is brought to you by Sensory Fitness and Lackey Kid. Lackey Kid is doing a fidget band promotion. Please go to deals.lackeykid.com. Their fidget band is really cool. I love it. It's a resistance band. It's a fidget band. There's a lot of things you can do with this thing. My kids use it. I use it. It's great. It's a great sensory tool to use for kids. As well as Sensory Fitness is doing a 50% off deal on sensory solutions to challenge behaviors. The video series that I made, it's a really cool video series. Check it out. You can go to sensoryfitness.org to get the intro, but I'm doing a 50% off deal right now. So please type in sensory in the comments below to receive your promo code. Sensory at the very bottom of the promo code. As well, type in 5 to subscribe to Sensory Fitness Live every week on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Great. Okay. So today I want to introduce to you Casey Grant. She's an occupational therapist. She does in-home occupational therapy. She's coming to you to talk about the power of play and what that means. But I will let Casey introduce herself, and she can tell you a little bit about herself. Hello, Casey. Thank you for being here.
Matt. Thank you for having me here today.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do?
Yeah, so I'm an occupational therapist and I work with kids. And my husband and I started our very own practice, which is in home. And you pretty much only see that in early intervention and in geriatrics. But that middle ground, those kiddos really weren't getting the therapy that they needed once they turned 3 years old. So we wanted to still keep that in-home support, but we really like the idea of doing therapy when we have a parent right there in front of us and we're in their home and they tell us, what's really hard for them, what are they struggling with, and we can be there in real time. When we work on sleep training, we're not in a clinic at 8 o'clock in the morning. I put on my PJs and I head to their house at 8 o'clock at night and we do sleep training in real time. If we're doing feeding, I do feeding at dinner time or at breakfast with the whole family. So everyone can ask questions, everyone's engaged, and the therapy is really customized. You're not getting cookie cutter therapy. Each child is different, so each therapeutic experience is completely different.
That's terrific. I think that's great. I mean, it's in real time therapy in real life situation. I know that was one of, working in clinics. One of my struggles was like, you would do so much work with a kid. Sometimes you have a parent come in and you maybe suggest some things to do at home or explain to you the reasoning behind the things so they could do something similar at home. But it's hard to carry a lot of that over. So I think that's awesome that you're going into the home and you're doing actual therapy.
Like, yes, I understand. But then they get in the car, drive home in traffic, and they've forgotten everything you've talked about.
Right. And me being a parent of my own kid and bringing him to therapy and even the therapist telling me, and I have some background, and I'm like, by the time I get home, I'm like, what was she talking about? I don't remember. How do I do what she was doing at the clinic? So that's great. I love that. So, Casey, I'm really glad you're here today. Today, Casey's here to kind of show us some activities to do at home and kind of sort of how she might run a session in the home and some activities she might do kind of, I know every kid is different and every kid you work with, their situation is always different, but some activities that you as a parent can try at home. And really, Casey and I were talking about a topic for this show, and we kept coming back to, so we're working with a parent and having them do these activities we're suggesting, but really it always comes down to one really strong skill, and that's the power of play. Us as therapists, get down with the kid on our hands and knees and playing with the kid.
I think I'm on my floor.
yeah. We probably all have horrible knees, but that's a really important thing, because a lot of times as therapists, you hand this stuff over to a parent and it's like, here, do this. But it's not like the parent takes it home and just like, here, tells the kid like, hey, do this, right? it's important to get involved with the kid, get down on the floor, and that's a certain skill. So that's something I'm excited for you to share today. So yeah, today's topic is the power of play. And so you want to go ahead and start us? Maybe how you would start a session and get right into it.
So play is really important for a number of reasons. Play is how our brains develop. We develop our coping skills through play. We develop our social communication through play. And more importantly, our problem-solving skills. And, we go up this staircase in life and we develop these play skills. And then once we become adults, we sort of forget how to play. So a huge part of my job is teaching parents how to play. And one of the things parents do is they try to control the play, right? They try to pick all the things for the child to do. And you definitely don't want to do that. Let your child take the lead. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take you through kind of a looser outline of what you would see in one of our sessions. So we always start a session with, we check in with the parents, find out how the previous week or the previous few days since we last met. And then we do a warm-up activity. And our warm-up activities are always neuro-based. Being a neurotherapist myself, I know that the quality of therapy always comes when the body is prepared to learn, meaning the central nervous system is in what's called parasympathetic functioning, meaning we're calm and regulated, and most kids aren't. And the way you can tell if your kid isn't regulated is poor attention span, fidgeting, under attention, running around, combative. So if you feel like you can see these behaviors in your child, I've picked out 3 of my go-to exercises, and we're going to go through them right now. And I'm going to start with the first one we do. It's called brain buttons. And brain buttons is done as a way to bring lots of oxygenated blood up to the brain. And once that's up there, we start to get more attention, right? Our focused attention. So out there, parents, if you have a child with a poor attention span, feel free to leave me your questions right now. But we are going to show you how you can use that structure called your vena cava, which brings all that oxygenated blood up to the brain. And it's simple. You take your 2 fingers, your pointer finger and your middle finger, and there's a small notch right here in your neck. And the top of your sternum and your 2 collarbones are right here. And then you go right above your belly button with those same 2 fingers. And we're just going to press in tiny little circles. And we're going to take some deep breaths while we do it. So really deep breaths in. And hold. And then we're going to breathe out through our mouth. It's important to go in through your nose, out through your mouth, because we have a natural filtration system built into our noses. So if we through our mouths, we're just going to alert our system. And then we switch after about 4 repetitions. So I would breathe in and out 4 times. At the 4th one, I would switch. So that top hand would come down. The bottom hand then comes up. We do the same thing, just gentle round circles. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Now, kiddos that have a hard time with blowing air out or in, I always bring bubbles with me. Bubbles have millions of benefits. I can't even tell you, but one of the great ones to teach kids how to breathe in and out deeply, have them blow bubbles or blow bubbles at your child and make them blow them away from you while you do this. And it also builds good visual attention. So again, those brain buttons brings oxygen up to the brain, and that's going to be attention and focus. So then we build on that now. So we've got this great oxygen in our brain right now, and we have 2 sides of our brain, and they each do different things. One side is problem solving and one's creativity. And when those 2 work together, we solve problems better, we're more creative problem solvers, and we have better social functioning. So the way we get our brain to talk to ourselves is we have to cross this imaginary line, and that's called our midline. And we do something called lazy 8s, and it's just that. You make an 8 that's laying on its side as if that 8 got very sleepy. And you do this, and you do this for about a minute or 2. We won't do that today for time, but you can do this. Now, if you have a child that has a weak shoulder, you can help them prop. If you have a child that has poor attention span, grab a scarf, and you can move a scarf around. I like to do the mirror game with children where I sit opposite of them and I say, whatever I do, you do. And whatever you do, I do. We are going to be a mirror. And we can draw this together. So we're going to do one side for about a minute. Once we've reached that 1 minute mark, we're going to put that arm down, give it a rest. Do the same thing on the other side. So now we have oxygen in our brain. We have both sides of the brain talking to each other, and we have an added bonus. As we move our shoulders and our hands, we really loosen up and we make our hands more, we have more dexterity. So this is a great activity to do right before a fine motor activity. And finally, I like to end with cross crawls. And cross crawls are really, really terrific. That's going to build your comprehension. So comprehension is something that, a lot of kiddos have difficulty with. There isn't just reading comprehension. There's verbal comprehension. Do I understand what is being said to me? Am I processing that? Kiddos with dyslexia or dyscalculia, this is an excellent activity because now, again, we've got oxygen to the brain, both sides are talking, and now we're telling the brain how to comprehend everything that's coming at us. Now, cross crawls can be done in 3 different ways. You can do it in seated, where you place your feet like this. And this is a modified version. If you have a child that is in a wheelchair or has braces or has poor postural control or balance, you're going to want to have them seated. And you take the opposite arm to the opposite leg. So if I take my right arm, I'm going to bring it to my left leg, and then I come back down. And then I bring it to my other left elbow to right knee, and you repeat. Now, you can do that sitting down. So if this is a child with poor balance, I'd sit down. If I had a child that had cerebral palsy or was in a wheelchair, I would have them lay down completely. And we would do it completely lying down. The reason for that is we have really good scapular and spinal support. But if you are, a typically functioning kiddo that can get up, you're going to stand up. And what you're going to do is you're going to do it like a march. So one arm comes out and we go up and then we come across. Now, these exercises are really great to do before a test. In our school system, we have standardized tests, test anxiety. Brain Gym is excellent to do that. And not even for standardized testing. I mean, a lot of kids have school-based anxiety, just sitting down to go to a math class. I would do these exercises 30 minutes before you have to do something that's challenging, whether it be an academic task, a social task. We get the brain really prepared. If you're interested in this, you can order the Brain Gym book. It's written by Paul Dennison. He's a neurologist that devised all of these exercises. These are just my favorite go-tos. Okay, so next we're going to move into our gross motor activities. And everything I have today here are things you can find at home. And I'll even throw out some ideas if you don't have some of these items. So we have just pillows off of your couch. You can use couch cushions too. I always have balloons on me. And as I said before, bubbles. And different size balls. So this actually is a higher level ball. And the reason for that is you have to have grasp and release. So this is a little bit harder. So this would be for a kiddo that has good fine motor control. But if you're still working on refining that grasp and release, I love these Koosh style balls. They have these fibers that hang off here. These little, I don't know if you call them fibers or like tentacles, but they're super easy. And as you can see, I have a flat palm. I don't even have to use my fingers to hold on to this. So the reason I'm showing you this, because the next exercise we're going to do the whole body, but we're really going to be focusing on the back. And there's a number of reasons why we want to have a strong body, not just because, we have better endurance, but we have better body awareness. And when we have better body awareness, our brain is better functioning. We make better decisions when we problem solve and creativity. So one of my favorites to do is Rocket Man or Rocket Ship. I always have our kiddos name the exercises because it makes them a little bit more engaged in it. So what we do is you stack them up. The higher it goes, the higher the challenge. And I'll show you why. So when I lay on this, I'm elevated and I can put my arms out in front of me. And if I lift my arms and my legs at the same time, I'm using all of my back muscles and what's called our posterior chain muscles, the back of our legs. So what I like to do with kiddos when we're working on strength is I have them either catch a ball, throw it back to me, I blow bubbles and they clap them, or if we want to make this a long-term activity, we really want to build that strength, we do balloon volleyball, back and forth. And we can do a rowing stroke, we can do underhand, and a little bit overhand. Now, if we want to make this less challenging, we have a kiddo that's kind of just working on neck control. We're going to be lower. And as you can see, I can anchor my feet pretty well. And by anchoring my feet, I have more control of my body. So this might be an activity where you're just practicing rolling back and forth. So we have pull, so we're working on our lat muscles, and we're working on our upper body muscles. And again, nice squishy. And if we give this a good hit, it lights up. So that's one of my favorite back of the body exercises. My next one, I call this the caterpillar. And the reason I call this the caterpillar is because I love to get the whole family involved in this one. And this one we're going to do, so we worked our back, now we're going to work the front of our bodies. I get everybody laying down. So I have mom, dad, brother, and sister. We all lay, so head to toe. So I'd have somebody laying by my feet. I'd have somebody's feet by my head. And we pass backwards to each other. Now we can make this easier where we just are using our upper body. But I like a good challenge. And if you really want to get your kids calm and working on that top of the brain, all that proprioceptive input that lets us know where we are in space, makes us feel calm, we're going to use our legs too. And what I like to do is I have kiddos grab something between their legs. They come up, they pass it to their hands, they pass it back to mom and dad. The person at the end of the caterpillar has to do a crab walk to the front of the line. So we have this rotation. And again, this is a really great activity to play with your kids, right? You don't know how to work on their motor skills. You don't know how to calm their bodies. Do the caterpillar. It will always work. You can also do bubbles in the caterpillar. So we want to work on lower leg strength. Blow some bubbles. Clap those bubbles out. Tap them out and come up into a seated position. So I'm wondering if any parents out there feel like they're struggling coming up with fun ideas as a family. How do we play as a family? Each kid wants to play a different game. Everybody has a different preference. How do you tear kids away from their iPads and their electronics?
Yeah. I love it. Those are great. I love those. So I just want to kind of recap real quick what you were doing. So the first part you're talking about, the brain gyms and doing the cross crawls, you would normally use that as kind of a warm-up for whatever it is you're doing. And it could be academic, it could be dinner time, it could be...
We could do these before we go into a meeting or before we get into traffic,
Yeah.
I know I could benefit from that before I get into traffic.
Absolutely. And then the first exercise, the rocket ship, where I'm on my tummy out, that's the work on my kind of the back muscles and
Yep. So that's your extensor control. It brings your neck up like this, So the large muscles of our body, the stronger they are and the stronger our core is, the more coordinated our upper and lower body are. If you don't have a strong core, you're never going to have the coordination you want. It's just not possible. Your core is the connector. Strong core, strong back, better control of your upper body. We get all of our strength from here and all of our control and all of our fine motor and all these little movements we do further away from our core. We need that. We need that postural stability.
Great. I love it. And so, okay. So these are awesome activities. Let's say I got my kid and I'm like, okay, we're going to do something. And I get them on their stomach and they're not into it. He doesn't want to do it. What can I do? Do the exercise, because I said so.
And that would be 95% of our parents, and not just parents, teachers too. Kids showing zero interest. And the first thing I say to a parent is, I'm not sure they're not interested, because 9 out of 10 times a child that doesn't want to participate, there's a reason, right? They feel that they might fail at it. It might be too challenging. So I never just jump to the conclusion that the child really isn't interested. I have to look at some different factors, right? If they're not interested, I might start looking at how they're moving around the room. Are they regulated? Would they benefit from some sensory calming activities? Is there a postural issue? Is there a gross motor issue? Is there something else that's happening physiologically to them that's preventing them from doing that? So what I usually do for kids that are not interested is I do one of two things. I give them a job. They're the scorekeeper, they're the timekeeper, they make up the rules. I might say, hey, this activity would be so much better if you started tapping balloons, but we couldn't let the balloons touch us. So we're all going to crab walk and you're going to be the person making the balloon snow or the balloon hailstones or the bubbles. I would give them a job, right? Because I want them to participate, but they felt out of control. So that made them not willing to participate. So I put them in control by giving them a job. And the best kids to give a job to are the ones that are having a hard time.
So this is where the play part comes in, and we were talking about in the beginning, right? So you have this activity you want to do with your kid, but maybe they don't into it, or they don't want to do it. So then, this is time to turn on the play skills, like give them some control, give them some idea, have them contribute to the activity. And if it doesn't end up being the same exact activity, right? The point of let's pick the first one, the rocket ship. The point is that you're on my tummy and I'm looking for that extension, right?
Yeah.
And does it matter? Does it matter that I do something totally different?
Yeah, if you're not interested, that's okay, because really what you can also do is demonstration. So I said there's two things I do. So the first thing is I give them a job. The second thing I do is I demonstrate for them, or I'll bring in like their brothers or sisters. Peers and siblings are so powerful. I'd say, you know what, Timmy? Why don't you watch us? You know what, Jane, why don't you come over here? And then I show them what the activity looks like. And now I have mom and dad go through it with me, right? Because the focus of it is really the parents' understanding, right? The parents are the ones that want to feel in control. And I teach the parents how to do the play. So when I leave being the stranger, if it's, we're just starting sessions, or just not being comfortable enough showing my gross motor skills in front of my therapist, what I can do is I train mom, dad, and brother and sister. So when I leave, I know I've got 5 supports. They're going to show him or her how to play. So if your child isn't engaged, try not to have your gut reaction be to pull them in and to force them in. They probably are interested. So show them what it looks like and give them that space. And then maybe leave the room, give them 5 minutes to practice it by themselves. Mirrors are really helpful. I do a lot of mirror work in bathrooms, in front of closets, and lots of, we use the mirror neurons in our brain. So show them that visual feedback. Show them going through the postures. Make it simple, break it into little pieces. Don't throw a huge activity at your child that feels like they're playing Monopoly, when really you just try a little component of it, let them get comfortable, and then slowly build it.
Awesome. Great. You ever do an activity and it spins the kid up, and not necessarily in a not always a negative way, like where the kid's frustrated and they quit, but just their energy's too high and suddenly,
oh yeah,
what do you do?
And I'm guilty of that because I am a very playful nature. So I get spun up sometimes too. And I also have to bring myself down. So kind of my rule of thumb is a body that's moving fast, in order to keep it moving fast, you have to have fast-based activities. Tickles, taps, quick repetitive movements. Those are all going to keep the body moving, right? But if we want to slow the body down, we want to do slower movements, but we also really want to use what's called proprioceptive input. It's a big word. It means where we are in space. And where we are in space, meaning I know my hand is above my head and I know my other hand is below my waist right now. The way we work that is we have these proprioceptors in our muscles, right? And we have to put weight on them, either weight bearing. So crab walks, wheelbarrow walks, lifting something heavy. We bring those muscles close to our body. Those proprioceptors go up to the top of our brain and they say, hey, I'm getting a lot of really good information. And it's almost like slowly reading a story. So the information that the child is getting is clear and it's concise and it's well paced. If I'm tickling a child, you're getting these messages to the brain that are kind of disjointed. They're all over the place. If you're tickling a child, you wouldn't ask them to do their timetables at that time. They wouldn't be able to do it. But if you had a child sitting quietly and calmly and ask them, to do something more challenging, they'd be able to.
Yeah, when in doubt, heavy work.
Yeah, always.
Out of the way.
And you can be really creative with it too, because I always bring like an empty basket, or I'll bring like an empty bag, and I have the child fill it up, right? And that's kind of boring, right? Going into the pantry, putting cans of food in there. I try to make it really fun. So I'll do like a scavenger hunt. So I like to do this with the whole family. I say, Dad, you can only go in the dining room. You need to find 3 things that are green. Sally, you can only go in the kitchen. You find 2 round things. And then I have everybody bring their items together. And then one child has to carry them. And carrying them can be, just with a bag. But one of my favorite ways to work on carrying things is I make us do a crab basket. So we make ourselves go into a crab walk. And I will demonstrate with this. So we take an object and we have to walk with it on our bellies. So we're getting all that proprioceptive input. So giving everyone a scavenger hunt and making everybody find their objects when they're crab walking. These are things parents can do. And there's added bonuses, right? You're getting a workout, your kid's getting calm, and you're having fun, and your child is really enjoying that time and that space with you.
Yeah, and maybe let the kid pick the object. I noticed like you have what you're using is not really high tech. You have a Levian ball, which could be anything. You're using pillows.
Dollar store.
So I see like Mallory Jones says, talking about equipment. So do you need to go out and buy expensive equipment, or what are some things you could? What are some other options?
Definitely not. You'd be surprised what you have in your house that you can already use. Painter's tape, right? That you use painting your living room. I love to use painter's tape. I make boxes on the floor. I make different shapes on the wall. I make kids go into planks and tap different things, like right hand triangle, left hand square. I will make ladders on the floor. We can do quick feet. We can do plank walks. And that's just tape. And you don't even need to use painter's tape. Stickers. Take stickers, left hand Cinderella, right hand Pinocchio. It's very simple stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely a ton of stuff. And, if parents are go-getters and creative and, a lot of it comes down to having the time. I know myself, I like to do this stuff with my kids, but sometimes I'm like, I can't right now. I can't. So that's where having like equipment, like stuff like this is helpful. Like the resistance band. You can't recreate that. It's hard to, unless I have a bunch of rubber bands. I don't know. Or stuff like, a yoga ball or that. So in some cases, the equipment is helpful, but it's not the go-to end-all kind of thing. It's like everything else, I suppose. I just saw Mallory's, says, when in doubt, probe it out. I'm using that. That's great. I haven't heard that before. Let's go to some, I just have a few comments and questions here. I'm going to start at the beginning. Belinda. Hi, Belinda. You do use brain gyms at home, but you never thought of using bubbles. So yeah, that's great. That's great. You can add that to your tool belt is awesome. And I think, using bubbles is, like you said, is helpful in so many ways, because then you start getting into the oral motor and then you're getting, that's also deep proprioception.
And bubbles are really great, especially if you have a child that's on the spectrum. If you at the very beginning just got diagnosed and you've learned about joint attention, and that's one of the first things you hear about, your child's on the spectrum, they don't have joint attention or they don't have sustained attention. Bubbles are wonderful because they're visually stimulating and they last for just a second and then they're gone, right? But you can keep recreating them. I take chopsticks and I make kids poke the bubbles with chopsticks. I make them hit them with spatulas, clap them, pinch them. You can play music and you can tap your bubbles out to a rhythm, right? So now we're working on our auditory awareness as well. And we're bringing our hands to midline. And again, if mom and dad are blowing the bubbles and sending out cues saying, okay, next tap, we're working on social play and reciprocal play. And all we used were bubbles and some things we had in our kitchen.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to is again, you're doing it, you're moving, you're playing games with your kids, getting kids actively engaged, and it's on the grand spectrum of kids, we have so many ability levels and all that, but the energy and the participation that the parent or the adult with that kid is extremely helpful, right? So instead of just like chucking the stuff, I hear some bubbles.
Yeah,
like maybe they will do it. Maybe
they will. Right? Kids learn from our behaviors.
Exactly.
Very seldom are kids listening. And I know every parent out there is like, no, my kid cannot hear my voice. Like they do not hear my voice, because kids actually learn from our physical behaviors. So the more we demonstrate, the more we're teaching them. So by showing your child you playing is actually teaching them every single time repetitively, this is how you play and this is how we play.
Absolutely. Casey, I'm sorry that we're almost out of time, but there's a couple questions that are popping up I just want to address. First of all, Rita, you use Post-it notes. Awesome. Those are cheap.
Yeah.
Dollar store. Post-it notes. Visual.
Oh, thanks, Rita.
Awesome. Dana, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Dana, any advice for a 3-year-old child who likes to climb and run, craving for proprioceptive and vestibular input?
Yes.
What you got?
Okay. So
Safe
Dana,
ideas, she said.
what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to always have your couch cushions off of the couch. Safe ideas, please. Absolutely. What I love about couch cushions is that when you put them on the floor, it is okay to lose your balance and fall, because you're going to fall on a couch cushion, or you're going to, just tumble onto the carpet. And what I call those are lava rocks. And what we do is we jump from one lava rock to the next, and we don't want to leave the couch cushions, right? Because the lava is on the floor. So you get great proprioceptive input because you have to push up hard from a soft surface that you recess down into. So in order to jump up, that's a kinesthetic movement. So those quadricep muscles work really hard, send a lot of proprioceptive input up to the brain. And then when we jump down, that impact of hitting something soft, again, more proprioceptive input. One of my favorite things to also do with couch cushions is I make them sandwiches. So lay one down, your child lays in the middle, and then you put the cushion on top. And you provide soft, well, not soft, but firm pressure, not so much pressure that your child can't speak. You want them to keep talking to you, but you want to give that input. So massages are a really good way to get proprioceptive input. Tight squeezes, tight hugs. Also rolling off of a couch cushion and then having to commando crawl or even roll back onto it. Lots of core strength, right? Because you're going against gravity to get up there. You have that nice soft cushion, which is giving you that proprioceptive input. And then we roll back down. So you can set this up. Your living room will be a mess and you won't thank me for it. But when your child is more regulated, you certainly will.
Yeah, and then all that rolling and that moving, you're also getting a lot of that vestibular input, which they may sounds like you may be craving as well. But we have to stop. We're out of time.
Oh,
Casey, thank you. That was awesome.
I loved it.
Thank you very much for being here, and we'll hope to have you back again soon, because we'll pick your brain, because you got tons of knowledge to share. And I love that you're doing the in-home OT, because I feel like, where I'm coming from is to help bring stuff into the home for parents and caregivers. And
that's what we do. We're custom therapy. Kids don't come with manuals, but our therapists do.
So Grant Therapies is a good place to get granttherapies.com. Is that where people go to check out?
www.granttherapy.com. We have our website. Feel free to call me, email me anytime. I'd love to hear from you.
Excellent. And don't forget to go to deals.lackykid.com. Check out the fidget band promo that Jason is launching. Please go to sensoryfitness.org. And if you are interested, please go type in Sensory to receive a 50% off discount promo code to get sensory solutions for challenging behaviors video series that I've put out. They're awesome. Check them out. Go to sensoryfitness.org to check out that information. Type in 5 to subscribe. And thank you very much, Casey. Thank you very much, everybody. Don't forget, a sound body is a sound mind. All right. Bye, everybody. Have a good day or night, week.